Welcome student to lecture 3. In lecture 3 we will discuss about the purification of these colloidal dispersions and its optical properties. Just a recap of what we have studied in lecture 2. In lecture 2 we studied about the different types of colloidal dispersion based on the interaction between the dispersed medium and the dispersed phase. So, just a comparison of the properties of these different types of colloids, that is lyophilic colloids, lyophobic colloids and association colloid. Dispersed phase. Here in case of lyophilic colloids, they are mainly organic molecules, okay, and for lyophobic these are mainly inorganic in nature and these are aggregates of surface active agent, surface active agents, aggregates of surface active agents. Then comes the nature of interaction with the dispersed medium, means the nature of interaction between the dispersed phase and the dispersion medium. Here this lyophilic colloids, as we have already studied, lyophilic means solvent loving. So, they can be solvated, they are highly solvated with the solvent molecules, means the solvent molecules forms the sheath or covers the dispersion the dispersion medium covers the dispersed phase. In lyophobic colloids, they have very little interaction with the dispersion medium. The dispersed phase of lyophobic colloids have minimum attraction with very little attraction with the solvent or the dispersion medium. Okay. This is the nature of interaction between the dispersed phase and the dispersion medium. So, very little, and this, yes, these are also solvated by the solvent molecules, that is they have good interaction with the dispersion medium, the dispersed phase have good interaction with the dispersion medium. Then comes presence of charge. Here mainly no charge is present, they are mainly covered by the solvent molecules or the dispersion medium molecules. So, no charges are present on the surface, mostly no charges are present, no charges, and here yes, they are highly charged, charges are there on the surface of the dispersed phase. Here they may also have charge on their on the surface of the micelles, charge may be there, charge may be there. Then comes method of preparation. These lyophilic colloids can be readily prepared, but lyophobic colloids specific methods has to be used, for preparation of lyophobic colloids. Association colloids, they can be prepared, but the condition is that the concentration of surface active agent should be equal to CMC, then these association colloids can be prepared. Viscosity. Now, the viscosity of the colloidal preparation is high compared to the dispersion medium. the viscosity of the colloidal preparation is high compared to the viscosity of the dispersion medium. Almost same. Here the viscosity of the colloidal preparation is almost same compared with the dispersion medium, almost same, almost same. Here there may be increase in viscosity, there may be increase in viscosity, but there is not much difference as it is seen in case of lyophilic colloids. Now, presence of electrolyte. Now, when electrolytes are present in low concentration, then these are stable at low concentration. These are unstable at low concentration. These are also stable at low concentration. At high concentration, they coagulate. These coagulates at high concentration of electrolytes. These are stable. These are stable at high concentration of electrolytes. These are also unstable at high concentration of electrolytes. Now, purification of colloidal dispersion. Colloidal dispersions can be purified by mainly three methods: dialysis method, electrodialysis method and ultrafiltration method. So, first we will discuss about dialysis method. In dialysis method, what happens, suppose we take a dialysis tube or a dialysis bag which is made up of this dialysis membrane. The nature of this dialysis membrane is, these are semi permeable membrane. These are semi permeable membrane. As we have studied while we were discussing about the molecular dispersions and coarse dispersion and colloidal dispersion, as we know that this colloidal preparation or colloidal particles which are in colloidal range, they cannot pass through the semi permeable membrane. They cannot pass through the semi permeable membrane, but the ions and the small molecules like molecules of urea, glucose and the ions like your sodium ions and chloride ions, these are highly permeable through these semi permeable membrane. So, inside this dialysis bag we keep the colloidal preparation. So, as we keep the colloidal preparation in this dialysis bag, the ions and the small molecules passes through the semi permeable membrane and get and these come to this water, and this water is continuously replaced, and in this way the ions and the small molecules which are present in the colloidal preparation can be separated from the colloidal preparations, and the colloidal preparation can be purified. Then another method is electrodialysis. What happen in electrodialysis? In electrodialysis, here it is same as that of dialysis, but this method to increase the rate of dialysis, electric means the potential difference is applied across the membranes, So, there is an increase in the rate of dialysis, but this can be applicable only to remove ionic impurities. This cannot be applied to remove the non-ionic impurities. Then comes ultrafiltration. In case of ultrafiltration, as we have studied, this colloidal particles can pass through the filter paper, because the size of the pores present in the filter paper are larger compared to that of the colloidal particle size range. So, first the filter papers has to be impregnated with colloidons, colloidons, so that the pore size can be reduced, and nowadays these filter papers having pore size ranging in the size of colloids are also available, and here what happens, the colloids are passed through this filter paper, and with this through this ultra filter paper, and the colloids cannot pass through the ultra filter paper, and they remain on the surface of the ultra filter paper as slime. They remain as slime on the surface of the ultra filter paper, and the water and electrolytes are collected below the ultra filter paper, and by this method the electrolytes can be removed from the colloidal dispersion. Then comes the properties of colloids. Colloid shows optical property, kinetic property, and electrical properties. The first is the optical properties. This optical property is a useful one to measure the particle size, shape, structure, and the molecular weight of the colloids. This includes light scattering and turbidity. Light scattering, the main mechanism of light scattering, here what happens, the light beams which strikes the dispersed particle, they polarize the atoms and the molecules. They polarize the atoms and the molecules, and as they polarize the atom and molecules, it creates dipoles. And they emit light which propagate in all direction, and light scattering takes place. Large particles scatters more light. Then the light interaction explained by the concept of, can also be explained by the concept of refractive index. The scattering of light observed when the refracting index of the particle is different from that of the medium. If the dispersion particle's refractive index is different from that of the medium, dispersion medium, then only we can get scattering of light. We can observe the scattering of light. Then comes your Tyndall effect. What is Tyndall effect? It has been seen that, observed that due to interaction of the particles with light, when an intense narrow beam of light is passed through the dispersions of colloids, when it is passed through the dispersion of colloids, its path is visible due to the scattering of light, and this scattered beam is called as Tyndall beam, and the light scattered is clearly visible when we see it against a dark background at a perpendicular angle to the incident beam. We can see here in this diagram, you can clearly see this. Suppose we have this light source and this light has been passed through the solution, colloids and suspension. See, when we see in this solution, we cannot see the path of the light beam. We cannot see the path of the light beam, and here we can see the path of the light beam, and here also we can see the path of the light beam. This can be seen, why? Because the particles which is present in this colloidal dispersion, the dispersed phase, it can scatter the light, and this is the Tyndall effect. So, colloids and coarse dispersion and colloidal dispersions show Tyndall effect. Then comes your light scattering, can be studied in your light microscope, ultra microscope and electron microscope. Light microscope, the source of radiation is visible light, and when two particles are separated from each other at a distance of 2000 angstrom, then it can differentiate, the particles can be seen, and the particle size which are present in colloidal range cannot be seen clearly through the light microscope. And when the particle size is nearer to 0.2 micrometer, that is 200 nanometers, it will be visible only as a single blur. So, this is not suitable for seeing or visualizing the colloidal particles. Then comes your ultra microscope or dark field microscope. As this shows here, this allows the light point which are to examine the light points which are responsible to for the formation of your Tyndall cone, and it is used to see the Tyndall effect. Here the dispersed particles appears as bright spot in dark background. Here the dispersed particles appears as bright spot in dark background, and it can also be used to find out the zeta potential. Here we can see this light shows us here, it passed through a hollow cylinder. Here the due to the scattering of light, we can see the particles as bright spots. Then comes your electron microscope. Here electron microscope, it is used to measure the particle size, shape and structure. The source of radiation is your high energy electrons which have wavelength of 0.1 angstrom, and as the wavelength decreases, the resolution increases, and with current instrumentations which are available, the results can be found when the distance between the particle is approximately 0.5 nanometers, and the particles photographs can also be taken. Then comes your turbidity. Light scattering can be described in terms of turbidity. What is turbidity? When there is a decrease, fractional decrease in the intensity due to scattering as the incident light pass through 1 centimeter of the solution, and it is expressed as the intensity of light scattered in all direction. If we divide Is divided by intensity of the incident light, that is your incident intensity of the light scattered in all direction is divided by your intensity of incident light. It will give you turbidity. Then this method can be used to estimate the concentration of the dispersed particles. It can help us to find out the molecular weight of colloids, and the equipments used are your spectrophotometer and nephelometer. Here spectrophotometer, which is used to measure the intensity of the transmitted light, turbidity and light intensity relationship. Here this equation gives us a relationship between the intensity of the incident light and between the intensity of the transmitted light. Here I divided by I0, I0 is in your intensity of incident light and I is intensity of transmitted light, is equal to E minus turbidity multiplied by length of the sample, which is taken as 1 centimeter. Then nephelometer, when the amount of dispersed particle is low, the intensity of scattered light is measured at right angle to the direction of incident light. Then comes light scattering turbidity. This is used to find out the molecular weight of the polymers and the micelles. It is used to study about proteins, polymers, association colloids and lyophilic salts, and your spherical particle scatters the light, scattering of light will be same in all the direction, but if the particles are rod shaped, what they do? They have a tendency to arrange themselves in such a way that it is towards the flow of the liquid, and it gives different effect along and at the right angle to the direction of the flow. Now, the principles, if we see, light source which is used here should have a wavelength higher than that of the dimension of the particle. The wavelength which should be used, it should be higher than that of the dimension of the particle, and turbidity can be measured from the scattered light by seeing it at a particular angle. So, turbidity is equal to 16 pi multiplied by your Rayleigh's ratio divided by 3, and we can get this Rayleigh's ratio, that is R 90, which is equal to I R square. R square is the distance between the scattered particle and the point of observation divided by I 0. Now, turbidity calculated from the intensity of the scattered light, it provides of the scattered light, provided the dimension of the particles are small compared with the wavelength of the light used, and the molecular weight of the colloids can be obtained from the following equation. Here we can use this equation. It is Hc divided by turbidity. This H stands for optical constant and it depends on the refractive index, and this can change with change in concentration and wavelength of light used, and the C is the concentration of the solute, M is the average molecular weight of the colloid, and B is the interaction constant of the solute and the solvent system. And here we can plot a graph between HC this is HC and turbidity versus concentration. So, we will get a straight line, and this straight line, the slope will give us B value, that is interaction constant, and this 1 by m is your y intercept. And this light scattering and micelles molecular weight can also be determined by using this equation, and can be applied after modification of the computed molecular weight of the colloidal aggregates and the micelles. And when amphiphilic molecules associate to form micelles, the turbidity of the micellar dispersion differs from the turbidity of the solutions of the amphiphilic molecules, because these micelles are now which are present now are also in equilibrium with the monomeric species, and below this CMC the concentration of the monomers increases linearly with the total concentration C. Above CMC, the monomer concentration remains nearly constant. So, these are the references. Thank you.